Hello,
Who are you?
I am Ethan of godfuck, GFOS, a member of the Screamo scene, DIY scene, music enjoyer, and such.
Very nice. Nice to
Yes.
talk to you. We've talked many times over the years. But yeah, nice to have you here on record giving your opinions on things.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first kind of area is kind of a little bit about your background and things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, what is your musical background? What kind of music did you hear growing up? Kind of stuff like that.
I think like I started off with very like mainstream music taste for most of my life, like 11, 12, 13. It was pretty like mainstream pop hits. I was like pretty like cookie cutter. And then I discovered what emo was through a record called Counterintuitive Records. Like really early on, I think they released like one band. There was like Bay Faction, and then I got into their discography. From there, it was like Pictures of Vernon, Mom Jeans, Graduating Life, and I kind of made friends with that group of people, and it was really cool to see this like alternative style of music and a different way to like love and care for music than what like mainstream pop had been presenting at that point. So I kind of found that scene, and then from there I discovered more niche genres like screamo. I think Old Grey was kind of my gateway band from like emo to screamo, because they kind of did that with their discography. Yeah, and then from there it was just like going to DIY shows, discovering noise music. Like that was crazy. I don't know. It was a pretty like natural transition, just from like naturally discovering emo music, and ever since then, that's kind of what I mostly listen to, like emo, screamo. I listen to like a lot of synth music, ambient music. Yeah, that's kind of like what I jive with. Kind of like what we make is what I like. The two different branches. I like screamo and I like electronic, and that's what I mostly listen to.
That's excellent. Yes, very nice. Okay. Yeah. So, what instruments can you play, and which is your favorite? Is the next question.
I don't know about like can play. It's kind of hard because I feel like in a way anyone can play any instrument. It's like in their own style. Like you could be bad at it, but you're still playing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would say I mostly play like guitar and keyboard. I can pick up a bass and play bass. I can do vocals poorly. But I'd say like that's my main thing. Definitely like stringed instruments for sure. My favorite is definitely synth though. Like I like synthesizers. I like making bleeps and bloops, especially like the non-musical kind of like textural explorations, like what we did on like To Socked towards the end. To Socked being like our EP, The Sonic Computer's Thinking. Like we did like lots of like textural ambient stuff, and that's kind of like what I really like. I don't know, it's just very like peaceful and enjoyable, and yeah, anything with like bleeps and bloops I like playing the most, I think.
Very nice. That's sick. Yeah. I like that you call it To Socked as well. Yeah. I always wonder about like artists who have the abbreviated names as well, like what they
Yeah.
call their own project.
Right.
Like
Yeah, no, it's
I wrote haikus about cannibalism in India. I wonder what they call it.
yeah, right. They must have something, right? They're not listing it off every time.
Surely, no. Okay.
Yeah, and we have a lot like that. Like Capital Vulture, we call like Capvul, Palm Castle, Tassok. Like we have like like, we never like full name things. It's like interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, what is your songwriting process for? I guess for Godfuck, but just in general as well.
Yeah. I think like starting with Godfuck specifically, it's really complicated. Like we're pretty much like an internet band, the same way that like Ginger Bee is an internet band, in the sense that we're always sending files. We never record like a day. We don't have a recording day, which we do tomorrow for our new album, but that's something different. In the past, we've always like, oh yeah, like I'll send guitar to Pat will do drums, and then Pat will add some guitar on, and then I'll add synth on, and we'll just kind of toss these project files back and forth. And that's how we've done it in the past. We're kind of changing it for this new release because we wanted to do some new sounds a little bit. But that's kind of how we structure songs. Like we don't really have like coherent ideas going into them. It's really like an exploration of ideas. Like I'll write a riff and then Pat will work on it, and back and forth, and it's kind of like this natural progression. And I would say that's like one side of things, and then the other side of things is sometimes like I'll just work on a song all myself, and Pat will do the same, and Pat will work on a song all himself, and it'll kind of be like we just bring the songs to the table and we throw them in. So there's like half songs we work together, half songs that are just like solo processes, and we combine those. In general, for like my writing process though, I just like write a lot of thoughts down on like Google Word docs, like either quotes I like, movies that I find really inspirational, general thoughts that I'm like, oh, like that would be something that I could expand on, like, oh, that's an interesting concept or topic or whatnot, and then like I scatter down like a few ideas surrounding that topic and then explore it through a song. That's kind of my general process, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very cool thing for me, I think. It's not like really like set in stone. It's very like just whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah, but I'd say you generally would start with the concept or idea before starting on the music.
Actually, I think the other way around. I would generally start on the music, and then I would apply those concepts that I've already thought of before. Be like, this one would fit here, and
Sure.
expand it. And if that makes sense.
Yeah. I get you. So it's kind of like separate lists of, you've got your idea lists and your bundles of music, and then you kind of combine them together.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have it. I always have it pulled up, and this one here, it's like 225 pages of like a Google Word doc that is just like the most random bullshit ever. But it's so helpful when I come to the end of an instrumental. It's like I can just pick and pull ideas to make something really like coherent and meaningful. Because I don't know. I feel like if I try to wait and like think of it all on the spot, it just comes out like rushed and stressful because I'm trying to like crunch this deadline. But instead, if I have all these ideas to pick from, it's really more like painting. Like it's like, oh yeah, like I'll add this here and this here and this here, and then it comes to be something that like I'm more happy with, I find. I think.
Very interesting, very cool. Okay. I gotta stop saying when I'm thinking.
I feel that.
I think I'm not gonna ever be able to do it, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm aware it's a problem.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. Okay, so next one is, we sort of touched on this a little bit already, but what other types of music do you listen to apart from the music that you make, apart from the types of music that you make?
Well, something interesting that's happened is that as I've gotten older, I've become, corporations and hyper-capitalism kind of like are not things I care for very much. So I find myself stepping away from like platforms like Spotify, and even Bandcamp and stuff like that. And I end up just going to like YouTube and like typing in like breakcore mix and picking like 2 or 3, burning them to a CD and like throwing them on in the background. So the music I listen to that isn't, screamo or electronic is really just like random mixes I find on YouTube. There's like I can't even say anything particular. Like it's really everything. Like right now, in the background, it's like Japanese bossa nova, I think, or something. It's like a mix I found, and I find that I like listen to music that I would never normally listen to, but I enjoy so much, and it's not like fed to me through some like algorithmic Spotify machine that like who knows what the fuck is going on there. This is like much more fulfilling for me personally, and that's kind of what I listen to. So I don't have like a good answer to that. It's more like I have this way of listening to things that gives me different music. I'd recommend it. Go on YouTube, type in like breakcore mix, and scroll around, and you'll find something really cool, I think.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. There's actually too much to unpack. Yeah, I think I was thinking about like, no, like, yeah, that's great. I was just wondering if we can expand on it. But yeah, I guess like the way people interact with music is so different, right? Like there's there's different modes of it. Like you active listening to music, but there's also like just music on in the background.
Totally.
And those are often very different things. And then your stuff about how we get music these days, like through Spotify and the algorithm and stuff, is so rough these days as well, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. It's like people put so much weight on like Spotify and monthly listeners and all that stuff, and it's like so much of it is just like algorithm and Spotify radio, and it's like there's so much more to being in a band than your monthly listener count and your follower count and all that. Like there's so much value to people sitting down and actually listening to your music, whether that be through a CD or even at a show. I don't know, like sometimes people just, I feel like, obsess about the monthly listener count and stuff, and it's just kind of like, all right, like we have like 20,000 monthly listeners or something right now, and I know like a lot of those are just like radio listens. Like that's just bullshit. Like I don't know. I'm convinced that a lot of Spotify stuff is just like fluffed so that artists stay on Spotify, but that's a complete conspiracy that I cannot back up. I don't know. I don't fuck with Spotify very much, to be honest. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Very
I
fair.
appreciate everyone who listens to our music on Spotify, though.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Maybe I should start singing while I'm thinking instead of saying
That's such a good idea.
That'd be cool. Okay, next question, next kind of main question is, so what inspires you that is not music?
I think I actually find the most inspiration through like daily life and like experiences, like that disdain for some kind of like, you know, late stage capitalism or whatever you want to call it. Like that's a huge motivator for me, both in like life but also in like writing. Like that inspires me a lot, especially for this release coming out, but also for our past releases. And obviously like a lot of our songs are very abstract and there's not like very obvious meanings, but they are there if you search for them. And that's one thing that hugely inspires me. Dealing with like health issues, you know, everyone kind of has a different level of health issue, and you know what I deal with personally, I find inspires me to write about, or to be written about rather. Video games inspire me, I think, a lot. Something I found especially like inspiring recently is like industrialization and like electronics and like construction and just like all the things of like an industrial revolution, if that makes sense. I don't know, I just find like the imagery of that like really cool for no reason, like big factories and shit and collapsed buildings. I don't know, there's just something that I find very like artistic about that, and I can't really explain why. I like it, and that'll reflect on our release coming up as well. But yeah, I don't know, I think that stuff's all like, I find life to be like the most inspiring, which I know is kind of broad, like everything is life, but more like the lived experiences that I have, I find very inspiring, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. About the industrialization stuff, where are you, like, what are you looking at for that? Are you, like, watching documentaries or reading books or just looking at pictures and stuff, or a bit of everything?
That's really interesting. Right now I'm, like, studying to be, like, an electrical engineer in college, so I find, like, right now I'm not taking any classes that deal with any of those specific things, but I find myself kind of researching stuff in my free time that relates to that degree, and so stuff comes up in there and I'm like looking into stuff and I'm like, wow, that's really, like circuit boards and stuff, like I'm learning to design circuit boards and stuff, and I'm like, that's really cool. And so that leads to other things, and I'm like on Wikipedia at like 2 a.m. diving through different articles. So that's like a majority of it is just kind of like self-research on the internet.
Sure.
And like sometimes like we drive by something, I'm like, that looks crazy, to take a picture, or you know, just think about it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think mostly the internet though, I think for sure.
Very sick. Okay. Next one is kind of godfuck specific. 2 questions. These also kind of a little bit. The first one's not that difficult, but so godfuck has a very unique visual aesthetic, which kind of I feel like separates it from a lot of bands and a lot of kind of artists, especially like on the kind of DIY level. Like a lot of DIY artists have kind of an aesthetic and a vibe and all that, but a lot of the times it's I don't know, not as unique.
True.
I don't know. I don't mean that in a negative way in any way. Like, I think that's just totally normal and healthy and cool and stuff. But I think
Yes.
godfuck is just different than that, in that generally godfuck has a very kind of specific aesthetic. A very specific visual aesthetic. Also audio, but I think the unique audio aesthetic is quite common in music.
For sure.
But combined visual, yeah, I'm definitely not asking this right, but I think you get the gist of what I mean. So, yeah, where does that come from, or is that kind of really planned, like you guys wanted to have a really specific visual thing as well, or what's the deal?
I would say it was like insanely planned. Like, there's definitely no accidents with our aesthetic. It's definitely all very thoughtful and like, this is what we want to present. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're kind of a more inactive band and we're only active so often, is because when we do something, like with our vinyl, we did the one vinyl release, we want to do it like in a very specific way that matches this aesthetic visually, sonically, and just like the way it's executed, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think a lot of where the aesthetic comes from is just like what I think it specifically stemmed from, like what Pat and I enjoyed in terms of like hyper pop aesthetics, electronic aesthetics, crossed with some like screamo ideas. I mean, I definitely, a lot of our aesthetic comes from like the electronic world, and I feel like Pat specifically really set the stage early on about like the whole hyper pop electronic stuff. And he set a really good foundation for us. And I think ever since then, we've kind of been building off of that in different, capacities and branching off in different ways. And, he and I have our different styles, but we always kind of bring them together to make something that's like godfuck. And it's something we're definitely very proud of and work hard for. So, yeah, that's cool. That I appreciate that you saying that and noticing that. So thank you.
Nice. All right. The next question actually is also, the next kind of godfuck specific one, I think maybe is kind of pretty similar in the end. But, also has been mentioned and interweaved through your answers already, but godfuck has another kind of unique thing about godfuck, I think, is that you'll have very tight creative control on the project, in terms of like it feels very planned, like from at every level kind of thing. I just think that's really interesting. And I guess any comments on that, but then it is really similar to the last question. So
I think from like a slightly different angle. Okay, so like we definitely do plan every single aspect of it as much as we can anyways. There's aspects that get harder as we get bigger. Like on some of the merch fronts, we've lost a little bit of control just due to we have to make so many of something. So we really can't hand make every single thing. It's just, we tried, it's just not possible, which is really sad to us.
Yeah.
We really love the idea of making one of one things and giving them from us to you. That's really cool. But on the other end of things, I guess the main thing I'd want to comment there is like, I think it's really cool to have like full creative control of your process and do as much of the, interweaving of the process as you can. But it's also really good to accept help from other people, and letting go of some of that process is also insanely healthy. And it's not like we've owned every single aspect of every single, process. Like we could have mastered our vinyl ourselves, but we sent it off to Will from Dead Air Recordings, just because like we're like, hey, like we don't need to do that. Like he'll do a great job. And so I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's like this idea that there's like virtue in doing every single thing yourself, so it's the most artistic as possible. And I just think that's like not necessarily true. I think that you can have these ideas and hand off these ideas to other people, and they'll execute them in different ways than you would have ever done, and it'll be far better than anything you could have ever imagined. So like, while we definitely do like try to plan everything we can, and everything you said, I think like it's also really good to recognize when you don't need to have your hands on something. And that's something we also try to do as much as we can, especially towards the end of the project, and be like, hey, like sometimes it's good to hand stuff off. But yeah, I guess I just want to say, like, sometimes I see people like on Instagram and they're like, I don't know, it feels like there's like some sort of ego behind doing everything yourself as a solo project. And it's like, I don't know, it's cool, but like we're like a social creature. Like, I don't know, open up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I very strongly resonate with that as well. I don't know. I don't want to go on a 6-hour rant, but I don't think DIY is like inherently more valuable just because you do it yourself. It's if it's good no matter what. If it sucks, it sucks no matter what. And at least for me, who does like pretty much like so much stuff by myself, it's more just because I want to, or it's fun doing it, or because I don't have any other option, rather than like the aesthetic. But yeah,
for sure. I think like Six from Morning Dew has a really good, like they say, like do it together, DIT instead of DIY. I really like I don't really say DIT, but I love the idea behind that. It's like, yeah, this is like a group effort. This is a scene. Like, use the different parts of the scene to work together. Like, yeah, I completely agree. 100%.
Yeah. All right. Good chats. All right. So, how are we on time? We're all right. How has it been? Like, godfuck's kind of blown up in some ways. Again, everything's relative, but godfuck's doing pretty good. A lot of people love godfuck, including me. What's it been like for you guys kind of experiencing it? And it's also been around a few years now, so maybe you're kind of used to it, or I'm sure the feelings about, popularity and stuff changed so much over time. But when you started the project, did you expect it to become popular? And any feelings on that?
I mean, no, like obviously like where we're at is like surreal and unimaginable. Like it's like I always say to like everyone else in the band, like I'll never be able to truly like recognize what's going on right now. I feel like I'll look back on it 5 years from now and be like, wow, what the fuck, that was insane. I'm good to swear, right? Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like going on YouTube. Okay. Yeah.
I'm from Australia, like, so.
Okay. Like I don't know. I just feel like I almost can't comprehend it. It's too surreal. Like so many people come up to us at shows and say the nicest things, and like I'll never be able to reciprocate the level of love that's given to us back out to them, and it just means so much. And it's just like, I don't know, it's really insane. But no, like when we started the project, there was like the idea of the project getting big wasn't even like a possibility. It wasn't even something that was considered. It's like, we're just going to do this the way we want to do it, and that's that. And there were moments where we were like, oh wow, this is actually growing into something that like people enjoy, and that's kind of crazy. I think like we had a few of those moments where we had like different opportunities. Like I think one of the big ones was like when Your Arms asked us to tour with them. That was like, wow, like this has turned into something that's like really meaningful. And then going to shows and having people like sing the lyrics, that was like another really meaningful moment. I think every artist's first time having someone sing the lyrics back to you is like just, I don't know, it's like very cool and very surreal and very meaningful. And all these moments have culminated to this point where it's like there's so much to be grateful for. It's like, I don't know, it feels almost impossible to like appreciate it now, and it'll be something that we look back on and be like, oh yeah, that was like, the best thing ever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I think that's well put, really. A lot of those kind of things are really hard in the moment to fully get to grips with, I guess.
Especially when it goes so quick. Like the Screamo scene just like blew up out of nowhere. Like when we started, it wasn't like this. Like it's just crazy. It's truly crazy.
Yeah, and it is like, again, in a relative scale, such a short time as well, really. Like, yeah.
And now we have Verse up on Coachella. That's
yes.
So cool.
Oh man, I love it. Okay. Still got a little bit. So we're going to go into outlandish questions, and then we'll start winding up here. So, do you believe in ghosts?
No. I don't. I would say, like, I don't really believe in, like, I don't know. If you asked me, like, 3 years ago, I'd be like, nothing metaphysical really exists besides maybe the soul. And now, like, I'm, like, at the point where, like, I don't know, like, life is so complicated. Nothing really makes sense. The older I get, I'm like, this shit doesn't make any sense. So I don't really know. I'll be, like, agnostic about it. But I don't really believe in ghosts, spirits, and, like, energies and stuff like that. I'm more open to, if that makes sense.
For sure. Very nice. Do you have any pets?
Yes. Here, I'll go bring him over.
Yep. This is worth any amount of time.
I can't hear you, but this is Mr. Beans.
Mr. Beans!
And he's very shy and nervous, but he's happy to be here.
Oh, don't show this mask. You just terrify the poor creature.
He is my only pet, and he's really awesome. He barks a lot.
So cute. Excellent. Mr. Beans, what a name as well. What's the name from?
I don't know. I just like looked at him like, this is Mr. Beans. Literally, there was like nothing to it.
Beautiful. I love that. The first impression naming. I'm a big fan.
What are your cats' names? You have 2, right? Or 3?
I got 3 now. Yeah, I got Azuki. So in Japan, the standard is pets are named after food.
Okay.
Yeah, not because they eat the pets. But because I have no idea. But yeah, so like the most common name is like, like chocolate, stuff like that. Chocolate.
Okay.
But yeah, so our one cat is called Azuki, which is the red beans food.
Oh, okay.
But that was kind of over the paw. That's pretty standard. And then our other one is called Sesame, which is, I don't know, just colors or something, vaguely.
Like the Screamo band from North Carolina.
Oh.
Check them out.
Yeah, good shout out.
I think they're from North Carolina. Sorry if they're not, but I think they are. They're cool.
And then our newest cat is called Cappuccino.
Ooh.
And I don't know why either. I think she's kind of white and she has a bit of chocolatey brownness.
Those are wonderful names.
Yeah, they go good. All right. Your next question is from the weird question list. Okay, if you were a teacher, what subject would you teach? My cats are going insane in the background. All right, sorry. If you were a teacher, what subject would you teach?
I mean, I'm studying electrical engineering, so I feel like I would love to teach something in the realm of like building things. I love building things. So obviously not engineering maybe because I don't really understand it all yet, but yeah, like just the idea of like creating stuff. I don't know what the class would be called. I like making things. I'd love to have other people make things. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Workshop.
Making things class.
Yes, making things class. Making things is awesome.
All right. So moving on from the outlandish questions and sort of moving towards the end of things, what advice do you have for young people, or not necessarily young people, but what advice do you have for people in general, anything, who like your music, who want to be famous like godfuck?
First advice, don't want to be famous. That's a horrible idea. Being famous is, I mean, I'm saying that like we're famous. I'm just saying being famous is nothing to aspire to. Don't do that shit. For real though, don't talk about big things coming. Just do shit. Don't say you're an artist. Just make art. That would be like huge. Like just do shit. Like you don't have to tell people you're doing stuff. You don't have to make your band page before you have music. I mean, you can do that, but just make the music. Just do the thing. I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'm trying to think of things that I haven't answered before. Asked if that makes sense. Because I've been asked this question like once or twice before. I'm trying to think of new things.
Yeah.
I don't know, get off social media. Social media sucks. The only reason I still have social media is because godfuck, but once godfuck's over, I'm deleting that shit. So, I mean, it's great to be in touch with people, I guess, but I don't know, it's like awful. There's got to be some other solution. Maybe just stop doom scrolling. I don't know. Make music, create things, be kind to people, accept people. I don't know. That's a great
Okay, I'm going to sum it up as touch grass and be nice to people.
That's perfect. Yes.
Pretty nice. Yeah,
yes.
Excellent advice. Okay, next question is, what's next for Godfuck? What's next for you? Anything coming up in the near future? Anything you want to talk about?
We're going to go on like one last tour. We're going to release an album. We might release like a compilation album at the very end of like loose singles and stuff, just to get stuff out there, like demos and stuff. There's a possibility of that. And then the band ends and everybody's happy. We go off and do our own things. I know JC has a project or two lined up after. I know Pat said he wanted to do some like breakcore type stuff, I think. Leah's talked about making music after as well. I will be doing anything but making music because I feel like I've been doing that for the past 6 years. Probably focusing on school mostly for me. Yeah, I don't know, just going to like live life. I feel like I'm very excited to live a life that doesn't have godfuck in it as much as I love the band and everything. I think I'm like so ready to move on to like the next stage of life. I wake up like legitimately almost every single day and like do something related to the band, whether that be like booking tour, working on albums, making merch. Like there's always something. So I'm really looking forward to like waking up and not thinking about that, I think. But while it's here, very grateful for it. I don't know. I think the future is very horrifying. I'm talking like in the grand scheme of things. It's very scary, but it's also, I'm very excited to experience it with the people around me in my life. And yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be all right.
Excellent. Do you want to get ahead of I guess feel free not to answer, but I always say that and then people still kind of feel obliged to answer, so but you know when bands break up and then there's always so many people like, oh, get back together. Do you have any kind of preemptive response to people like who will maybe not be happy that you're gonna break up or anything like that?
Not necessarily. Probably just be like, there are so many YouTube videos of us playing live. Like, there must be like 20 or 30. You can live through those. We still have so many shows left. If you haven't seen us in all this time, I'm sorry, but like we did everything we could. We're going to travel out to everywhere we can before we break up. Maybe someday we'll be able to get back together. I don't think that's likely, but it's possible. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, the best things in life are always kind of fleeting moments, I think. You don't want to draw something out forever and ever and ever. I don't want to do that for the band, so yeah, it is what it is. If those people are upset, I'm sorry.
Very nice, yeah. That's pretty much, similar to what I often say in those situations as well. It's like, nothing lasts forever.
For sure.
The other thing is I often think about, like, people who look back at bands who have broken up. And like, those bands were nobody at some at some time in history. Like, if you want to get in on that, just go to a local show. You might find the next godfuck. Just like fucking going, and there's like 3 people in the crowd, and you're gonna be one of them, and then you're gonna have like memories for the rest of your life. Don't focus on this like breaking up or the old bands. Like, just get out. You're going to find new stuff.
A wonderful thought. Like, live in the moment. Go, there's bands out there that are trying to do their thing right now that you would love if you saw them live. And they're playing in small basements, and they want to play to you, and they want to hang out and talk to you. Yeah, like, go explore your local scene. Don't obsess over I love that thought. That's such a good thought, actually. So good.
Of course, it does suck that those bands break up, and that's totally natural and awesome reaction as well. But just one thought I've had before. All right. Last, before we say goodbye is, do you have any kind of messages for fans, messages for the people? We've kind of touched on this a fair bit throughout as well, so I don't know.
We are working on music. Sorry it's taken so long. Touch grass. Be kind to people. Stream your local bands. Go see local shows. Yeah, I don't know. Just be a kind person. I don't know. Stop scrolling on social media, please. Yeah, I don't know.
Awesome. Okay.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you for listening. If anyone's listened this far, that's awesome. Thank you for doing this interview, of course. I love watching this kind of stuff, so I'm very grateful that you're doing this. So, thank you.
Thank you to you. Alrighty, that's it. Thanks so much for talking to us. I think it was really interesting. Good people will enjoy it. And goodbye.
Goodbye.